The person you're about to see me coach has over 4,600 hours of playtime. That is over 8,000 competitive ranked games played, all just to beat Diamond 3. Personally, as a coach, this is the most time I've ever seen somebody to be hard stuck in a specific rank with inside of Valorant. And I'm gonna see if with some alterations to her real life and her gameplay, if we can get her to the rank that she desires, which is Immortal 3. I'll be doing these sessions every Monday live on my stream, and we'll be turning them into videos and updating you guys along the way. So why don't you sit back, grab a snack while I run my ad and enjoy the video. If you're enjoying the content, feel free to join my Discord server linked below. This is where you can win a free coaching session for yourself, or you can subscribe and get a bunch of other benefits, like the ability to watch every single coaching session I've ever done. You can get your tracker reviewed live on stream, or you can sit in with me while I break down pro players' gameplay and explain why they do the things that they do. Or maybe you just want to enter sub wars and destroy some of my other subscribers live on stream. Anyways, enough selling out. Have a good one. Okay. Talk to me about like IRL. So, in terms of sleep, how many hours of sleep do you get per night?
Maybe like 5.
5?
Yeah.
Can I ask why?
I have really bad insomnia. I take sleeping pills, but like even then, like it doesn't always help.
Do you exercise?
Yeah, I do. I go to the gym every day, well, 5 days a week.
Okay. I'm not sure what we would have to do to fix your sleep or how we'd even go about that because I'm not like a doctor or anything, but this like needs to be adjusted. Like sleep affects mental health, it affects physical health, it like increases risk of like heart attack, stroke, like all these other things. It has like, it provides like a bunch of negative downsides once you're getting sub 6 hours. Even sub 7 hours sometimes can show like statistically a bunch of like bad side effects. So immediately what I'm thinking is like, holy shit, we need to work on our sleep. Okay. Were you in sports like growing up, or like, is there anything that you were like specifically doing, you know, like that was like skill related while you were growing up, like music, sports, doesn't really matter what it was?
Yeah, I played the piano.
Played the piano. Okay. I'm not really sure how piano works. I was never a pianist, right? But like, how did you learn the piano? Like, typically you start off very basic and they teach you like how to use keystrokes, I would assume, right? And you kind of expand outwards from there, increasing speed, finding rhythm, right? I don't know how piano works, but right, that's like skill development, right? And so basically the way skill development works is you develop a base foundation of your skill, right? So I'm gonna pull up Paint here. We're gonna draw a graph. So like skill development works in like a very specific way, right? It's like you start here, like let's say we want to learn Valorant, right? This is our goal, because that's what we want to do, right? We just want to learn Valorant, right? So then you break it down into multiple categories, just like you would like for like a piano probably. And then we have your game sense, which is a general term, and then you have your mechanics, which is a general term, right? And you break it down further and further, and game sense can be broken down into multiple categories. This is like comms, you know, map awareness, right? Map control, understanding, right? It can be broken down into like ability usage, right? And so on and so forth, right? And then in order to develop these sub skills, every time you develop one of these sub skills, it puts points in your game sense. But then you got to develop the sub skills, and developing those sub skills is by essentially finding out what those sub skills consist of. So comms is like pre-round, mid-round, right? And then after death, right? And then the way you practice those is different ways. So it's about the practice that actually makes the sub skill better, which increases the skill of the actual thing, right? That's how improvement's done when you have to teach yourself, right? So I'm not sure if you've ever had to teach yourself any skills or anything, but that's essentially how you would become really, really good at something, right? And I want to make that very clear because that is the basis of what we'll be doing when we're coaching you and why I assign you specific tasks. So essentially with every task that we do, it is to work on a sub skill that works on a main skill that develops your actual like thing, which makes you better at the game of Valorant. Moving on from that, let's go ahead and watch your gameplay. Enough of like IRL stuff, but like I just needed to see where we're at and like see how much we understood about things in terms of like skill development and like making sure we're taking care of ourselves. And then we'll look at the game and we'll see what our weaknesses are, and then we'll come up with tasks on how to improve the in-game stuff as well. And then if we're improving both IRL and in-game, we should be able to rank up. Okay, smoke. Okay, so why did you smoke like this?
Because I saw that my whole team was on the other side and we hadn't cleared drop yet, so I was like, there might be somebody there.
Okay, but I'm asking why you threw this smoke here.
Just people peek from rope.
It's just people peek from rope?
I think at that point we like knew that most people were on B side, so they were gonna be coming from there, and I was like, oh, okay.
Okay. So, if you're ever in this situation, right? When you are like hard taking from either this angle or this angle, right? Typically when you're dropping smokes, you want to smoke here, here, and here. Because this angle that you smoked off, if they walk out rafters, they can still peek you from rafters, right above this smoke.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not gonna really affect you. This smoke kind of protects if you're either going out sands or the smoke comes out if you're like going out drop, right? But if you have drop control and you're just flooding out main, you have drop control. So like let's say you have this lane plus this lane, right? Then you would kind of want to smoke on top of this box here. So you'd throw all three smokes in the same spot, but one of them would be on top of the box. And then you'd just be fighting for essentially this space. So the way smokes kind of works is you smoke off a site, right? A smoke gives you, it essentially blocks line of vision, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So since it's blocking line of vision, you're essentially whatever vision you block, you're fighting for that space. And that's how smoke should be kind of viewed, right? So for example, let's bring it to bind, right? When you smoke on brimstone, a lot of people make the mistake of smoking like this, right? Because like you think you just only need this. Now, if you have a sage wall, that would make sense, right? Because then with a sage wall, you're kind of fighting for essentially this space because the sage wall prevents the spam. But in reality, you kind of want to fight for front sight control so you can get the bomb down safely, right? It's kind of like your goal. And if that's your goal, then you would smoke here and here. Smokes can be accompanied by whatever your goal is. So if you smoke here and here with a sage wall, it makes sense because you're just trying to get the bomb down, trying to control U-Haul, maybe have a late person showers or something. And this is like the space you want to fight for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure I'm making sense. If you have any questions, please ask, by the way. The biggest thing I want to focus on is like your intention behind why you do stuff. Because that's how learning works. Why'd you plant right here?
Just so my team could play for main.
Can I ask you why you didn't plant in the corner?
In which corner?
So like the corner of this, right here.
Oh, I just didn't think that through. I was just like, let me get plant down before we die.
Okay. You can always take that extra like millisecond to get the bomb down because it's just better. This will result in a better post plant scenario. Do you know what happens when you look in a direction when you plant the bomb?
Yeah, it'll like move more towards like a side.
Yeah, it'll move like wherever you're looking, it goes in that direction, right? So if
Yeah.
you look in the corner, you can see how it makes a quarter circle now and it becomes easier to spam. That's why you do it. Okay. What's the decision on planting right here?
I just planted.
Oh, you just
I
plant. So you don't think about when you're planting, do you?
Yeah, I don't think about planting. I just know I have the bomb, so I'm gonna plant it.
Okay. Okay, in post plant, you don't really have like a reason behind your movements, right? Like you're just trying to get on a
Yeah.
soft sage wall to maybe have like some vantage point, like you're not really thinking about it. You're not positioning around your team. Okay. So I've already found like the major issue with you as like a player. Oh, I gotta change the rank. You guys are right, chat. My bad. You essentially just do whatever your brain tells you to do without actively thinking about it, do you? Is that right?
Yeah. I just do whatever feels right in the moment.
Okay. After you die, do you ever think about what you did?
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I should have done this.
Okay. So like for example here, pulling out your molly. Can I ask why you were pulling it out?
To throw it to buy time in case they got close to it.
But do you think you need to pull it out right now?
Probably not,
Why not?
because we still have like my two teammates on site fighting.
Two teammates on site fighting, right? So it'd be best for you to probably just hold your gun out in case somebody like if you're raised double satchels, or for instance in this case somebody flanks you, right?
Yeah.
And like you're going main, right? So it makes sense just like if you're going main to like re-clear flank, even if you have a teammate here, right? I think the biggest thing that I'm kind of noticing is just that common pattern of like we just kind of do things to do things. Okay, so basically what I want to do for this exercise of the rest of this VOD review, I just want you to tell me what you're doing. Like I'll pause it and be like, if I see something, I'll pause it and be like, why are we doing it? If that kind of makes sense, right? So I can kind of get a gauge because we need to start adding purpose behind literally like everything we do. Like for example here, like when you're swinging, do you have any intention in mind when you're going through this smoke?
Just to follow up my teammate.
Just to follow up your teammate. Okay.
Yeah, like I usually just try to play off of like what my teammates are doing. So if they don't have a specific plan, then I don't know what I'm doing either, to be honest. I never like take action for myself to like make an aggressive play.
Okay, so you never have like you're just like whatever teammates do, that's where I go.
Yeah, like I just try to see what I can do off of what they're doing.
So in terms of paying attention to the other team, you don't ever like try to predict what they're gonna do or anything?
Now I'm just like trying to see like, because I'm like, well, like there's more chances of winning if I'm like actively helping my teammate to like kill the person that they're struggling with.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I got you.
So like there, I just threw that molly because I knew somebody was in that corner.
Okay. And then you re-smoked because...
I resmoked generator because I was like, I can hold canteen pretty well, and I know that there's 2 other people in spawn.
Okay.
Stun.
Is Raise your duo?
Yeah.
You guys in Discord or no?
No. We just, because then I get overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's probably fine. And you're not comfortable with calming. Okay, got you.
In this game, I did calm a bit because I was duoed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
One enemy remaining.
Why'd you leave tower?
To help hold cross with Neon, in case they came out of generator.
Help hold cross with Neon. Okay, can I ask you, do you feel like that's the right decision?
Maybe not, but I was just thinking like Sova's holding cross with Raze, so I should hold cross with Neon.
Okay, okay. Do you know what makes a cross strong?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so a cross, like the whole point of a cross is a genuine like crossfire. So let's say you go here, right? And you're holding with Neon. Is this kind of where you wanted to go?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you the question. Like, do you feel like this is strong or not? Like, let's say it was a 2v1. Do you feel like this would be good?
If
And
it
like
was a
you knew the guy was
2v1
generator.
Yeah, if it was a 2v1, I should have played closer because I know that he dies before me.
Okay. Okay, so we know that he dies before me, so you'd play up here, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Now let me ask you a question. Let's say it's a 2v1, you know the guy's generator, and you have the smoked off. Is there a difference between you playing right here and you playing right here?
Honestly, sometimes like there's angles that I like am not comfortable peeking because I feel like my aim is kind of bad. So I'll move to an angle that I'm more comfortable holding.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like,
So
what part of your aim do you feel like is bad? Can you like identify it for me? Like, what do you feel like is weak when you're aiming?
like it's like I know I won't be able to stop my movement on time to aim where I want to aim.
Okay, so we feel like our left and right hand synchronization is kind of bad.
Yeah.
Okay, have we done anything to attempt to fix that?
So one thing that I did because I would notice that when I was like pressing AD, sometimes I would like hit D twice in a row instead of doing AD. So
Mhm.
sometimes I would sit in Word and like just press AD and make sure that I'm not like double pressing it. But it would happen
Mhm.
more often than not that I'm like double pressing the letter.
Okay, so you counter strafe then? You press the opposite key to move in the opposite, like to stop your movement?
Sometimes. But sometimes I like completely let go of my hand without noticing and then I'm like, oh, like now I have to put it back down and it's like slower for me to like get the strafe like on time with my mouse click. Like I feel like
Oh,
I don't have the rhythm between my mouse clicking and like my actual keyboard movement.
okay, but have you ever done anything in game to work on that?
No.
Okay,
Like
okay.
what could I do?
So for example, yeah, let's pull up some examples of what you could do. So right now you're struggling with your left and your right hand synchronization, and this kind of is broken down into like movement segments, right? What defines good movement and good aim is like a mixture of like timing plus understanding why you're actually moving your character and why you need to move your character. Now there's things you could just teach yourself subconsciously and you can do drills, but let's say you're struggling a lot with like left and right hands, right? So the most common drill that I have people do is like a timing drill that you could essentially do anytime. So what you do is you're just gonna open up your practice range, click F3. It's gonna be on eliminate 100. You're gonna click start, right? I think the way Hooj does this, he's another coach. I don't know if you know who Hoojin is, but he's another coach, and the way he does this is he puts on Cypher, and then he sets up like this, I believe, if I remember correctly, the way he does it. I just do it without these. It doesn't really matter if you do them with or without, but your goal is to stop exactly on this kind of area, or like go slightly past it, and then timing your shot, and stop as close as possible, and then follow a metronome. So you're essentially just gonna follow it into eventually where you can just shoot in between without ever stopping. So this is like one way you can work on your timing, because you'll notice if I mess up my timing, if you look at the shooting error, notice how the bar is blue,
Yeah.
right? And then if I don't mess up my timing, I'll wait for it to go away. It's yellow, right? So that's how you can kind of tell. And then obviously if there's a little movement, I'll try to make it so there's a little movement. You can see yellow at the top and blue wherever, right? So depending on how big the shooting area and stuff is. So if you just like stop, you see it goes down, right? It just depends on like how much shooting area there actually is. But the bar is a little bit interesting to read. But then another thing that we can do in terms of actually practicing are like, it just depends on like different types of drills you can do. But essentially anything within this range, for example, if you go easy, you can always like intentionally move in the direction the bot spawns. It's like a simple way to practice, and you can just practice your timing of like when you want to shoot. On easy, you could literally just not move your mouse, and I think you can always get to the bot. Oh, you can't. Okay, you can't. But the way all my viewers know of like how to practice this drill, and I'll send you the video after, it's the whole point of like flicking past the bot and then using your movement to adjust back into it. And this helps you with your timing. And it also helps you with general movement and having intention behind your movement. It's like you're flicking past, I know I'm moving to the right, right? I'm using my movement to essentially readjust, right? Anyway, that's like the whole point of like different drills you can do to practice this like left and right hand synchronization. Obviously, you could just go into practice and you literally could just, you know, you could do long strafes, right? You could just try to be as accurate as possible, right? Or you can just do like short little strafes and you can just go back and forth, right? There's different ways you can practice, and we'll talk about that later on. But like whenever you struggle with a skill, your goal should be to come up with a plan that will work specifically on that skill and dedicate time to it, if that kind of makes sense, right? Now, obviously what you dedicate time to will vary from place to place, and what you need to dedicate time to will vary as your program switches and as things change. But this is like what I'm talking about in terms of like when we were talking earlier about how you develop skills, right? So like, let's say, for example, you have no in-game communication skills because you don't really talk to your teammates, right? So like if we wanted to develop those, there's different things we could do outside of the game that would also help inside of the game. So for example, let's say you're really bad at communicating after you die, like where somebody is, how much you hit them for. You could go into death matches, and after every time you die in a death match, you could communicate out loud and press your push to talk button, because you'll see it always pop up in game, even if like you're not with anyone. You'll see it always pop up in game, right? Whenever you're talking. So you could go in death matches and you could simply just go around and press your push to talk button. Every time you die, you communicate where somebody was, how much you hit them for, and what agent they were, right? That's like one way to work on your comms. Let's say you're really bad at pre-round calming. All you have to do is go into every intention, like the intention of every game, and just talk to your teammates in the pre-round. Like I mean, obviously that's like ranked practice, but you could also do it in swift play. You could do it in unrated, right? Swift play would probably give you more reps per hour or something like that, if that's something you wanted to practice. Or you could simply talk to your friends or whatever, and coming up with strategies will also help. Let's say you're really bad at communicating in the mid round, same thing, death matches, right? You're really bad at reading your opponents, because, you know, we've never like intentionally tried to read what our opponents are going to do, right? At least that's kind of what you told me. You're just like, oh, I just follow my teammates. Since we've never done that, a really easy way is to go back and watch VODs and just simply pay attention to how people act and react, and understand that not every game is going to be the same, and that we need to go off of human tendencies and what they're going to do. That's like another way to practice. So VOD reviewing would be being capable of practicing like your intentions. Ability usage can be practiced in things like swift plays. It can be practiced in customs, right? And hopefully you kind of see the point I'm getting at here, though. But like, it's not just like a mechanics thing that we're practicing. It's like in every skill can kind of be practiced and individualized, like one at a time. But yeah, so like here, the general consensus is your 4v2, and all you want to do is group up with a buddy, right? That is literally all we want to do right now. We'll keep it like simpler. Obviously, there's different ways you can position and better ways you can position and better communication you can have. But the general rule of thumb is just find a buddy, stick next to them, because you have such an advantage in this round of firepower that odds are, unless somebody does some nasty, crazy clip, that if you just stick next to somebody and play their trade, you'll win the round. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Exactly. So like even going to this cross, you have a lot of downtime. You notice? So much downtime, yada, yada, yada. And we're like active. Do you know how to silent drop off ropes?
Mm-mm.
Okay, let's teach you how to do that too real quick. But yeah, so when it comes to silent dropping, you can hear the audio in game, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So silent dropping, as simple as it is you just hold your shift key, you walk over the edge, and you attach to it at the bottom. Obviously I hit the ground because I'm bad, but you attach the like rope, and then you can just hit detach, or you can click space. It doesn't matter. Well, usually it doesn't matter. If you're close to the ground, it shouldn't matter.
I jump off first, and then I click shift at the end.
Yeah, literally. Oh no, you hold shift the whole time, right? So you will like literally just walk off the edge, and you attach at the bottom. That's literally it. And then you click detach. Is the safest way to do it. So it's just detach is the same key, and you can see I was like completely silent, right? There's obviously ways you can do it where it's like this, and then sometimes you'll make noise, sometimes you won't. The safest way is always detach. But I'm just bad today, I guess. I'm tired, so. But it's just detach, and you should be okay. You just have to be careful because you kind of want to pause for like a millisecond when you get to the bottom of the rope. So that way you're stopped your movement.
Smoke's down. Right here.
So you smoke because you feel like your team's committing, right? And like they're
Yeah, I
going
thought we
to?
were gonna push faster, but then we like took a bit, and I wasn't sure what we were doing.
Okay. The smoke's not terrible. I'm just curious on like, I want you to always think about like what you're doing. So for example, if you're taking this fight, like why do you want to take this fight generator here?
I was gonna take it because it would give the advantage. Like, I was like, oh, if I peek it first, then I can probably win it. But then when I missed the first few shots, I just backed off of it.
Okay. But peek it. Why do you feel like you have the advantage in this fight? I'm not saying you do or don't. I'm just asking why do you think you do?
I just think they're like running, so they're not like sure where to look at that moment. Like I know when I run from over there, like there's so many angles to check that I never like look at one angle. I'm always like looking at all of them at once.
So when you peek generator from here, you're not looking towards main?
No, I usually like because I think about the angle that's like by the box to the right, like right behind generator, because like we could have been like towards their spawn.
Here?
Yeah, there where your mouse is. Oh,
Oh.
my mouse. Yeah, there.
There? Okay, so you think about that. Why do you think about this angle before you think about this angle? Because like,
It's closer.
because it's closer?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that's like the wrong thinking. I understand why you think that. It's closer. But the problem is that this person, like, they will see you first. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, so in terms of threats or angles, so like if you were coming up tower, right? Would you think of this angle first or this angle first? Which angle are you worrying about first when you're coming up tower?
Probably the green one.
The green one. Okay.
I'm the white one, right?
Yeah, you're the
I
white
would
one.
think about.
Okay, the green one. Okay. So now let me ask you another question. What about this? So let's say there's somebody here.
I would think of the red one first.
You think of the red one first.
Yeah.
Is it because it's simply just because it's closer?
Yeah, because I feel like I would die from like underneath before like I even knew that there was somebody there.
Okay, but this red person can't see you if you're coming up here, right? Does that make sense? Like this person can't see you.
Yeah.
So since they can't see you, you want to isolate this fight first, right? It's not about the distance they are from your character. It's about the angle they're being exposed to first. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. So are you playing spawn so that you can smoke both sides?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Launching smoke.
That's fine at the start. I don't mind it for the first couple rounds. Can I ask you why you don't smoke off sands?
I just saw the neon wall there and I didn't think it was necessary.
Okay. So like right here, you saw the neon wall and you said screw it, don't need
Yeah.
to smoke it off?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take that for now, but if I don't see you smoke it off later, I'm going to ask the same question. Can I ask why you went tower here?
No objective. I was just going tower.
You were just going tower? What do you think the
Yeah.
best play is here?
Probably push onto site to help me raise.
Help your raise, help your neon, and fight with them, kind of?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's a correct answer, right? So in this
Yeah,
situation,
but in the moment, like I remember in the moment I was just like overwhelmed by it, so I was like, I'll just take this fight when I feel more confident in what I'm shooting.
okay. Okay, can I?
And-
Is there just a lot going on, and that's why you felt overwhelmed?
Yeah.
Okay. My question is, do you make all of your decisions like in the moment, like preemptively, like
Yeah.
as they happen? Like you're just like, okay, I need to do this now. I need to do this now. Do you ever
Yeah.
like think ahead of like, oh, I need to do this, and then if this happens, I can do this?
No, I just do it in the moment.
Okay, we're adding something to your training. Okay, so basically, what we're gonna do, right, is when you're playing the game, I want you to think of the 3 most common situations that will happen based on your original plan. So we're gonna have you create a plan every single time. So consider it like this. This is your plan, P, right? And then from there, we're going to have 3 common outcomes that you think will happen. If none of these happen, then you can go back to your thinking on the fly. But like, for example, I think they're going to go A, so that's my plan, right? So I'm going to sit towards plan. If they come out sands, then I'm going to smoke plus swing, right? Smoke plus swing. If my teammate dies before I get there, then I might smoke plus go out still. I might still fight, right? Smoke plus go out, plus go out. If they go B, then I might push through main, right? I don't really care what your plan is, but this is the way I want you to think about what's going on. I want you to think slightly ahead. Do you think you can do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. We're going to start adding that so that way you get less overwhelmed. Because the reason why you're getting overwhelmed is because so much is happening around you and you haven't thought about any of that stuff happening. So it's like essentially your brain is processing all the new information and be like, holy shit, what do I do? Right? But instead, you should anticipate that stuff to happen and then go from there. So at the start of the round, you don't have any like thought about what you want to do at the start of the rounds?
No, I just see where there's a missing hole and I'll fill a gap.
Okay.
So like
okay.
nobody was playing main, so I was like, I'll play main.
Okay, okay.
And then I thought I wanted to swing it, but then I just didn't.
Okay. You throw the smoke wrong a lot, by the way. I don't know if it's because you're just trying to go too fast, but when you throw this brimstone smoke, you want to make sure that it covers all of like this as well. So you just put it like in this corner roughly, and then it'll cover everything.
Okay.
Also, okay, I actually have to talk about what's proper and what's not. So you notice how there's three people on this side of the map and 2 people on this side of the map?
Yeah.
Traditionally, when there's 2 people on this side of the map, you want to work with this person. So you want to be next to them. Rather than filling a hole, you want to fight for this area, because if you just try to quote unquote fill the hole, you're just gonna get ran down. Like this guy's gonna be taking a 1v2 and you're gonna be taking a 1v3. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like no matter what, you're in a bad situation, but let's say there's 2 people that go here, then you guys would be taking a 2v2 and they'd be taking a 3v0. So yes, they get the space, but you're able to stop the people on this side. So that's a concept known as strong side, weak side. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Whenever the weak side, you want to fight together with the person and have some sort of plan if possible. So you go for every map. Excites like 3-2 split. Not always, chat. Like the biggest thing you want to take away from coaching is it's not necessarily a flow chart. It's more of general like things. So like for example on bind, 3-2 makes sense, right? But split, a lot of times you really need that mid control because working mid makes sense. But like on a map like bind or a map like fracture where there is no mid, then it's gonna be different, right? Because you know instead of like 2-1-2s or whatever, it'll just be 3-2, 2-3.
Spike planted.
Tower side, Jenna main.
Stim beacon down.
Okay. Okay, look at your crosshair in this entire time. Ready?
It's like on the floor.
It's not even about being on the floor necessarily. Yes, it is on the floor, I agree. But do you see it right now?
Yeah, it's like not in any angle either.
It's not on any angle. So I call this floating crosshair syndrome, which is a really bad habit, right? So your goal with your crosshair is it should be on an angle. Like, so for example, right here, this is good. It's on an angle where you think somebody could potentially be your swingy from. So the second you give up this this spot, you need to snap to another angle. Maybe you think somebody's going to swing you from tower. Maybe you don't think somebody's going to swing you from tower, you snap to main, right? But instead of snapping to main, you snap in the middle because you want to be able to see both. That's what you're thinking in your head right now. Like, this is subconscious. It's all happening subconsciously. You're like, I want to make sure I can see both, so that way I can adjust my mouse, right? But that's just the wrong thinking. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. This is just bad gunfight hygiene. You just like crouch commit to this fight, and you start shooting before you even aim. You basically see the blob, and you just like start shooting, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Like you see 2 people, and instead of aiming at one of them, I believe you just shoot. No, you do aim at the brimstone. You just shoot before you're done aiming. You actually do aim at the brimstone. This could have worked. But yeah, you just shoot too early. We'll look and watch for the round, right? Because like you're just hopping around at the start. You're reacting to people. You're not fighting for your space. So have you ever heard the term neutral space before? Okay. So neutral, what do you think neutral space would be if you had to objectively think about it before I even tell you?
Spawn?
Spawn. Why do you think it'd be spawn?
Because there's like no enemies there at the start.
Okay, that's like a valid reasoning. I can understand why you reason that. But no, so there's 3 types of space. There's like defender given space, there's attacker given space, and there's neutral space. So with that being said, what do you think neutral space is?
Sand.
Sand. This is inherently given to the defenders, believe it or not. Do you know why it's inherently given to defenders, even though the spawn
No.
barriers are here?
No, I'm not sure.
The reason why it's inherently given to defenders is because nobody can go out and fight sands on their line of sight, right? They're forced to look at a wall, right? So neutral space is traditionally what it is called, is the area in between. So like it would technically be this area. So your answer's pretty good, by the way. Just so you know, I'm just like slightly picking on you. Like technically this is given to the defenders because if you look at the barriers, you notice how like if you're tower, you see into sands, right? And if you're here, you see into this location. Right, it's kind of the same thing on like bind. How yes, this is all neutral space, right? Does it make sense? But in reality, like this space is given to the attackers because they can see into this line, right?
Yeah.
And then the defenders have to actively retake it with some form of utility traditionally, right? It's the same concept here, right? Like you're traditionally given sands, so you would want to fight into that, like you would want to fight for A main. So your goal with neutral space and the objective behind it is to always fight for that. Not always, but like fight / get information on this space. So this is like what the neutral space is on A site, right? It's here, and then it's kind of this area, right? This is kind of your neutral space on A. This is roughly your neutral space on B, this area, and then traditionally like this area, kind of like because the spawn barriers are given, right? These are like you're meeting at the same point, right? And then these are kind of meeting at the same point here and here, right? And then these are meeting at the same point here and here, right? So there's slight neutral space that's given to the defenders in this situation. But anyway, that's besides the point. But yeah, so it's like when it comes to neutral space, you notice like what you're doing at the start of the round, how you always sit in spawn, like no matter the situation. For the first 4 rounds, if you want to play fast rotation and make sure you can smoke for your team, that's okay. I don't mind that, right? But after that, it should be based off predictions. Like, oh, I'm going to play A site because I feel like they're going to go A. Or like maybe I just don't genuinely have a read, so I'm going to play spawn and play fast rotation, right? And that sort of thing. And that's why you always play spawn. And I would guess that like defensive side for fracture is always hard for you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's because there's no like site that you feel like you should play because you can't hold both portions. But yeah, we'll see what happens here. Swing out after the smoke. Okay, so this is a very big thing that you're doing right now. Can I ask you why your crosshair is where it is?
Because I think that they're still like in the sand area, and like I could like spray through it, but I didn't want to spray because I had a vandal.
Okay, so you think they're in the sand area. So you're essentially like, you're not going to spray because you have a vandal. That's fine, right? I don't mind that. So essentially you're just holding this then, right?
Yeah.
Even if you think they're in the sand area.
I didn't think they would walk out.
Where would you put your crosshair in this situation if you could put your crosshair somewhere else?
Like probably like right outside the smoke, so that if they do walk out.
Over here?
Yeah.
Perfect, beautiful. That's exactly where your crosshair should be in this situation because nobody can swing you from where your crosshair is, right? So notice, so if it comes out, look at this adjustment you have to do now.
Yeah.
Now, if this smoke's not here, do you think your crosshair is in a good spot?
Yeah.
Why?
Because then I'm holding like sand when they walk up to the rope.
Yep, 100%. You're holding this line, right? So it's just slightly different. Your reasoning behind why your crosshair here is because naturally in your brain, you're not used to this smoke being here. Does that make sense? That's why you're rationalizing it in your brain. Like, oh, my crosshair has to be here because it's a common threat. But as things happen, you have to adapt to the situation. The smoke goes down, my crosshair goes here, and I'm holding this angle, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're going to focus on your mechanics, and we're going to start developing those. And the big thing we're going to focus on is your reasoning behind all the decisions you make. Every piece of utility, every piece of utility you throw, every decision at the start of the round, what the enemies are doing, we're going to start using our brain here in that situation. Because that's what we have to do. Because right now you've been on autopilot to the point where you're just following your teammates around and you're doing wherever like people go, right? That's what you're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you're not taking the game ever into your hand. And then on top of that, we're going to start developing our mechanics. So that way, when we are in those situations that might be like less advantageous, we still might be able to shoot our way out of those situations. So that's where I want to go with you. Where's a round where you almost 1v5'd? I'm gonna watch that.
It was 11-5.
11-5. Okay, so it's like 10. Okay. So it's like right here. Wait. 11
it was, like,
5.
the round
Oh, I'm bad at math. My bad. Not
Or
actually.
11-7, 11-7.
11-7. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
11-7. Let's see you almost 1v5. Okay.
I just ran there because he was running.
No, you're good. You're good.
Open up the sky.
Why'd you ult?
Because they were planting.
Perfect.
Last player standing.
And you ulted this way because if they're in the pocket, they have to come out, right?
Hmm.
Perfect.
Spike down B.
Smoke down.
Why'd you smoke main?
I think I saw one main, so I was like, let me smoke that off so that I don't have to worry about peeking that as soon as I peek out.
Okay.
One enemy remaining.
Oh my.
And then, like, I thought that the last one was in the smoke.
You got the dart. Okay. Do you know why peeking here is bad?
I should have probably waited until tap.
He already tapped, actually. He peeked with tap.
I don't know. I was just anxious and wanted to peek out.
That's fair, right? But I want you to come to a conclusion of why you think peeking here is bad in this situation.
Because he was probably faking it.
That's one thing, right? He most likely is tapping the bomb. I don't disagree.
Oh, and he probably knew I was there because he darted generator.
There you go. That's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to hear, right? Because he darts generator, you don't know. So if you sit here for 5 to 10 seconds, right? And then you peek out, right? Then he thinks, okay, well, maybe she was avoiding the dart, right? You have to start viewing things from other people's perspective. That's what's going to make you grow as a player, right? You have to start coming up with your own plans and then viewing things from other people's perspectives. And with that, your game knowledge will grow, right? So basically, it was a good round, by the way. Nice shots.